Okay, I
Okay.
think that's mostly everyone. A file has been shared now by Miss Athena, and we'll be, yes, starting off the afternoon. Miss Athena, go for
Yeah,
it.
good
Thank you.
afternoon. Yeah. So I'll just start there. Okay. Thank you all. So hope you had a good lunch. Okay. And we're going to talk about classroom management this afternoon. I think it's a soft topic. Okay. There is no much skills that you have to master, but um most of you maybe like learn from the teacher you work with, and I believe that you guys can observe what is the so-called successful classroom management and what is the so-called not that successful classroom management, right? Okay. And for the LET for ETA the first year here, we will talk about something like what the class will be like, and attention grabber, some basic ideas how to like talk with students. But today we will talk about how to build. It's more like how you build um, image as a teacher, and how to communicate with students more successfully. Okay, so we will talk more for this period of lesson. So first of all, okay, so we will talk about what is an effective classroom management. So to effectively plan for classroom management and the development of safe and supportive learning environment, it is very important to do three things before a new semester start. And I know that there are homeroom teachers and English teachers for the students in classes. Normally, you don't really teach alone, but sometimes you have the chances and you will find it is more difficult to control students. And now we're going to talk about it a little bit. And you have to do this before a new semester start. Okay, so it's more like the mindset, okay, not the real skills. Okay, so first of all, you have to reflect on your classroom management practices and skills to focus your initial planning. You need to have a plan right now, starting. Sorry, Jennifer, you have a question? Okay, it doesn't matter, just continue. Okay, so first of all, you have to think about that, what you did well before and what improvement can be made after a year teaching in Taiwan. So we will think about this and talk about this later. And then you plan for the first day for the first few weeks. You have to start like think about what would make you a better teacher at school and a better way to communicate and work with students. And the last one is continue to reflect on the impact of your practices and skills to plan for classroom management. So these are what we are going to talk about today. Okay, so before we start, I would like you to download the file I have sent you. So take a look of the file. Oh, it doesn't matter. So take a look of the file and please download it. You will see a Word file and there are several questions I would like you to complete by yourself first. So let's take a look. There are several questions. I will give you five minutes. You just write down your brief responses. And these are the questions, okay, you can think about. So can you guys see my Word file? Yes, is it shared on the screen? Yes, okay. So the questions are easy. So first of all, so we would like to talk about your classroom atmosphere. So to what extent is the learning environment you develop safe and supportive for all students? It's very important for a student to feel supportive, but how? And I think you can observe that some of the Taiwanese teachers, they are not so supportive I would like say that there is a culture difference. I remember a year I went to Alaska and I went climbing with my friends. I saw a bunch of elementary kids. They went camping there. And one of the kids, he was a little bit slow. And I say that, oh, you're too slow. Hurry up. Yeah. And my friends say, no, why you talk to kids like that? You cannot use the word slow. You have to use positive words. That is not American way. Okay. So I just want to share that a lot of there are some behaviors and some of the ways we as Chinese teacher are used to communicate with students are not very supportive actually. But for you, I think you're kind of used to it. And there are some of the ways and methods you use to communicate with your students. So maybe you can give us some examples. So think about this, how you create the classroom atmosphere which is safe and supportive for all the students, and how do you impact the students and learning environment in which you teach. That is, you change or you did something, change the environment or change something in your classroom through co-teaching or because of your participation. So this is the first one. And the second question is, do you take into consideration views and perspectives that are different from your own when understanding why students are behaving in particular ways? Okay, there are students, they misbehave or they don't cooperate, and maybe you figure out the reason and you did something change them. So I would like you to think about this. And do you reflect on these views and perspectives to grow and adapt your approach and expectation, and or evolve the support you provide? So think about this. And the third one, how do your beliefs and knowledge about teaching, learning, curriculum, and classroom management influence how you form relationships with your students and set expectations? It's more like your philosophy. How do you think about being a teacher and your beliefs and your knowledge about teaching, about designing a class, about what kind of class should be, what kind of class atmosphere you would like to create, the vibe you like, or how you teach your students, or what kind of reaction you expect your students to provide. We know that a lot of Taiwanese kids, they don't really, they are kind of afraid of making mistakes. So they are not really able to talk initially, voluntarily. And did you do anything to change their attitude and the way they talk, or there are still some problems you want to solve? You can just write it down. Maybe you can discuss with your partners or class, your partners later. Okay, and the next one, how do you build positive connections and establish positive relationships with all the students? So I just want you to think about these questions and write down brief responses for each question. And later on, we will have several chat rooms to discuss with your partners. Okay, so now you have 5 minutes. So think about it and write down your own answers. Okay, write down your own answers. Any question? Okay, so I'll give you 5 minutes to think about it. We have some reflection first, and then we will talk about it. Oh, document. So do you guys all have access to the file? Hmm? Matt, maybe you can take a look of the new file, whether it works or not.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Does it work?
For some reason, it's still not letting me edit it, but I'll just take notes somewhere else on the question.
Okay, okay. Since we can discuss, it doesn't matter. So we are going to divide you guys into several groups, and if you haven't complete, you can just like discussing with your partners and just write down something randomly, just for you to take a note. Okay, so you are going to be divided into groups now.
And Athena, you should be able to view all the rooms now and join it. Hi, Athena. How long would you like this session, by the way?
This section would be like, I hope 15 minutes. 15
Okay,
minutes. Sorry.
alrighty. Sounds good.
Yeah. I want to combine because there originally I planned to have two discussion sections, but now I would like to combine them together. Yeah. So
Okay,
there are four scenarios in my file, and I'm going to tell them that pick two of them to discuss after they share their experience. Yeah.
okay.
Right. Or is it any place I can send a message or, oh, okay, I think I can just get into their chat room and tell them. Okay.
Hi, sorry, I tried like rejoining the session a few times, but it just kept on putting me on like the joining group 3 page without actually letting me join group 3.
Oh, okay. I'll try and join you with a different group then and see what happens. Group 8 at the moment has two other people, so if you would be able to join Rachel and Nina, would that be
Okay.
a possibility?
Yeah. Thanks. Okay,
Okay,
bye.
all right.
Danny, is it possible for you to go to room 1 and 2 to tell them to discuss the scenarios in the file? There are four scenarios in the file.
To discuss, what was that there? Four scenarios in the file and discuss the, oh, Hi, Athena. It was
Mhm.
4 scenarios in the file, and then
Yeah.
to discuss, what was it again?
Discuss the questions. There are some
Ah,
one of two questions down the scenario, and I can read through the scenario and talk about it a little bit.
all right, got it.
Thank you.
I'll jump to those rooms also. All right,
Yeah,
see ya.
1 and 2. Okay.
All righty. That should be all, I believe. Hey, Tina, I was gonna say, it's been about just almost 20. Do you want me
Yeah.
to put the warning, like the 60-second?
Yes, yes, yes.
They'll start returning.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much. Okay. Who is Tina?
Um, I on the attendance, I'm not finding anyone under the name Tina. It
Uh,
might be an FSE team member.
Okay,
Just checking in.
okay. So, so are they coming back?
Yeah, everyone's making their way back in.
You can see my PowerPoint, right? Okay. So is everyone back? Okay. I know it takes some time to discuss, but I just want you to share with your partners and like the difficulties you encountered before and how you create something by yourself. You must develop some of the strategies or ways to deal with your students, right? There are a lot of naughty students, and how did you deal with them? And how did you create the classroom vibe you want? So that's the reason why I would like to discuss first. And I originally planned to discuss twice. So, but I think it takes some time to group you guys, and so that's the reason why I want you to discuss the scenario first, and later on we don't need to divide into groups. We just talk about it. Okay. So the scenarios are some of the situations that teachers might encounter, and there are some strategies and details you can do if you encounter the similar situation. Okay. So go back to the questions we just talked about. There are 3 questions I would like you to reflect. And some of you talk a lot, spend lots of time talking about your experience, but some of you just spend a short time to say something, but it doesn't matter. We just want you to think about it. So first question I would like to ask. Okay, you can share yours or your partners. You think that is really impressive. You just talk about it a little bit. Okay. So the first one I would like to ask Irene. Irene, right? Okay. For the first one, that is about the learning environment you develop.
Were you calling on, did you say
Yeah.
Aaron? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Erin, sorry.
Yeah,
Erin.
no, just making sure.
Sorry. Erin.
The first
Erin.
question.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I came in with a new LET and my students, she was very, very harsh with them. So they were actually very afraid of speaking English. So when my new LET and I started last year, we sort of tried to change the environment. So sometimes we had days, they can not be afraid of mispronouncing things or just making the effort to talk. So to just let them feel more okay with making mistakes, and then also allowing them to share their interests. Like we would let them some days have questions, just ask any questions about the US or about English so that we could incorporate their interest in class so that they can, sort of like heal their relationship with learning English and see that it can be fun.
Good job. Do you speak Chinese to them, or they just talk to you in English, even though they don't talk in English before?
I try to speak mostly English with them if we're doing small talk, or they know that at least I can understand the
Mhm.
Chinese, that like if they can't think of a word, they can say it in Chinese and I'll understand. And then I can teach them the English for that. And then usually if we're playing outside, they know they can speak Chinese to me here. But they actually started speaking English to me outside of the classroom too. Like stuff they see on TikTok or like random things they find. Yeah.
Impressive, right? You will feel surprised that they are willing to talk to you after class in English. So they're not being forced to do so. They want to do it. They want to know you more and want to learn the language more. That's the consequences we want the most. Yeah, this is very good. And you guys must make effort and did many things to make the students start to be willing to talk about English. That is the most important thing when you guys here teaching English. So I found that some of the LET before, some of the EDAs before, they prefer to talk to students in Chinese. They think that will help them get closer to the kids. And it's very cute. And some of the kids will teach you guys. I don't know whether you made the situation before or not. But some of the kids like to teach the EDAs Chinese, and they will ask for the English at the same time. So it's like translating all the time. It's very cute. And I think it's very good since they are willing to interact with you. Okay. And you change their learning attitude. That will change their whole life. That is the reason why I would like to talk about this. Okay. And the second one, I want to jump to the next one. Okay. So this one is about your teaching philosophy. Okay. So what do you think about teaching, and how are you going to influence the kids and influence the way you manage the class? Okay, so this is a big question, but I would like you to talk about it. And if I call on your name wrong, you can just tell me. Okay, so is it Sonida? Am I right? Song Yino. No? How about
Yesterday, Sonita said her audio wasn't working great. So just to,
you want to help her? Okay.
yesterday we were in a breakout room and she let us know that she was having a hard time with audio yesterday. I don't know if today is the same.
Okay, it doesn't matter. So is it possible for you to help her to answer this question?
Sure. Yeah. Actually, in terms of like influencing the classroom environment, one thing that I started doing this past year was my second year. So I'm now in my third year here. And the second year I tried to go to more student activities outside of school, like finding out that one of my students really liked to perform in these singing competitions. And so I started learning, when will the competition be? Oh, 2 Saturdays from now at 9 a.m. Okay, I'll be there. Going to things like that, going to the dance competitions. And so these outside of school, yeah, like dance team. That really influenced in the classroom, like, I guess, interaction and participation.
Yeah. So just as I mentioned, they start to fall in love with you guys. And then it's like we'll motivate them. Yeah. Yeah. I remember one of you shared naughty kids, and I mean, when you were in the chat room talking about naughty kids, who is there? Is Nina, or some? I forgot your
I
name.
think that might be me.
Nini, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to share your experience? I think it's very sweet.
Yeah. So in the beginning of the year, when I start like getting to know the third grade, I have one very naughty boy who just never listen to me or like don't do homework, and he's really like behind in all like his English. And then after a while, I learned like a month or two when like in in the office, like they're talking about one kid, and I was like, oh, this sounds like my third grade. And then they're like, oh yeah, it's him. And then they talk about his family situation. So I get to know him a little bit more, like not only like at school, but also situation at home. And so I start to pay more attention to him and like help him with more work, help him with work when he needed. And he turned out to be a very sweet boy who
Yeah.
just like not naughty.
Surprise.
Yes, it's very surprising how they can change
Yeah.
so fast once you understand them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the reason why I would like to call on you. I have to say that since I mentioned I actually have been teaching English for almost 20 years, and I practiced teaching in elementary school in the first grades. I remember there was a kid. He was very naughty, but I always talked to him. And he's the naughty boy. The naughty boy is like, I don't care, and just like always have a poker face, something like that. He's a first grader, but after my practice teaching for a semester, my homeroom teachers say we're going to give you a farewell party, and they send for me, get me cards, and they are going to take a picture with me. The naughty boy disappeared, and we don't know where did he go, and we look for him. He hid in the toilet, in a bathroom, in a toilet, and he said he was crying. He said that he doesn't want me to leave. I think it's very easy for you guys to take care of the kids who is more like not that inclusive, or they are naughty because of certain reasons. And as teachers, sometimes we have to understand why. We're not going to save everybody, or not the like Superman or Superwoman to save all the kids, but sometimes they just need your care, and you just do something, talk to them, or do something that other teachers or other kids won't do. They just want to be concerned sometimes. That's the reason why I would like you to share, because most of the time the naughtiest one must have some problems, and nobody solve it, and that leads to the problems. So it's hard for you because you don't speak Chinese, and you don't really have much time to talk to them. But what I try to say is that in school, you guys are very special for them. Some of you are just like superstar. I don't know whether you can feel that or not. Yeah, the kids love you, and the kids regard you as someone very important. It's just like a guest or some stars in my school. So if you can take some care about them or help them a little bit, maybe that can change the kids. Okay, so that is why I would like you to think about this. What's your teaching philosophy? Why being a teacher here? What do you really want to change? Or I wouldn't say you can change everything, but you can change something you can do. Yeah, so that is the reason why we talk about this. Okay, and the last question, I think this one is very important. That is the positive connections and establish positive relationships with all students. It's very hard. Yeah, all student is a big term, but are there ways you adopt, or there are some tips you can teach us? Okay, so I would like to call on Grace. Grace? Okay. Oh, you're going to type it out. Okay. Okay. And Lisa. So Grace, you can just type it out. We will take a look. And Lisa.
Hi. Okay. So I think it's important to build trust with your students and try to get to know them as much as possible. Find out what they're interested in, get to know their personal individual learning styles and unique characteristics about them. That way you can really show them that you're interested in them as a person, not just as a student. And I think that really shows them that you care. So if you can do that, they'll start to trust you. They'll believe that you care about them, and then they'll open up to you. And when they do that, they're more eager and willing to learn. and they'll tell you things, and you'll be able to build that positive relationship.
Yeah, so it has everything to do with motivation, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they are being motivated, and the connection is the first step. It's like they trust you, they think you're their teachers, their leaders, and they will follow you. And that is what I think. Basically, I think it's not very hard, but you have to set rules, and they have to like you have to set rules. You can be very strict, but they still respect you and they are willing to follow you. Okay, so I can see Grace typing here. She thinks that, I will read it. It's important to approach each student as an individual person. So we regard them individual, that their differences. We adjust your expectations and relationships to each student rather than assuming they are all the same and should be treated exactly the same. I also think that taking time outside of English class to connect with them through chatting, games, being engaged in their interests can have a huge impact on their work within the English classroom. That's the point we just talked about. Very good. Yeah. Not only in the classroom, but also outside the classroom. They can feel that. Okay. Yeah. Good job. So I'm going to continue to talk about classroom management in this case. And if you guys have any opinion, you can just leave your comments. And if I see it, I will read it. Okay. So now, yeah, very important. They are individual. So there are individual differences, how to solve this individual problem. So in the beginning of the semester, we have to know our students. And I think this part is too easy for you because you have to know how to deal with them. Okay. So you need to read the profile. But I think the most important thing is to know, are there students with special needs that we have to care or concern about? So just ask your LET, they will tell you, right? You know this. And as we mentioned, family is a very big factors influencing their learning. And I would like to say that if their family doesn't function well, school and teachers are the most important part in their life. So we have to be a little bit careful about that. We know that, and we can do something for them. And also, there's something that you might feel confused, like cultural context or relevant medical needs or academic, behavioral, social, and emotional strengths, needs, and plans. So those are all the background you have to know about the students. Okay, so whether you need to assist more or who are the students you have to pay more attention to. If you don't know, as you have already have experience for at least 1 year, you can observe that who are the students you need to pay more attention to. And I have to say that when I was homeroom teacher, I will pay attention to the naughtiest kids. In the beginning, I will set the rules and I will be very strict to him, to everybody in the beginning of the semester. That is very important to set rules. I will talk about that later. Right? So in the beginning, you have to like introduce yourself. I think those are very easy for you, but sharing your thoughts and sharing something about you is very important for kids. We have to talk about this. They are very interested in you and they want to know more about you. That is one of the way we can exchange culturally. They can learn something besides language. I think language is not the most important part. Both the cultural concept and languages are very important for the students to learn to know about. So you can introduce something about your country, about your background, about like something different from Taiwan, and they will be very interested in that. Right? And you have to create opportunity for students to check in at the beginning of a lesson or day. What does that mean? You have to feel. Okay, so this is a little bit like you have to feel their feel in the beginning of the lesson or class. If they all look sad, maybe you have to ask them or you have to do something. And if you look kind of uneasy, sometimes after like PE class, they were not able to concentrate, then you have to do something in the beginning of the class. Okay, so you don't just have to teaching, you have to observe their like emotion or something the day. And some of the teachers, they would do something like give them some entrance ticket. I don't know whether you use entrance ticket or not, but entrance ticket activity is like exit ticket. Exit ticket activity is the activity when they need to leave the classroom, they have to use. And entrance ticket activity is more like warm up and also help you to make sure whether students are ready to learn or not. And there are lots of ways you can just Google it, but you think about in the beginning of the class, you still need to observe students' responses and reaction for each lesson, okay? And there are some examples like selecting different emojis that reflect their mood. So in the beginning of the class, maybe you can give them some emojis or they can show something to interact with you as a warm-up, or placing a token in different label boxes on their desk, or sticking a sticker note on the chart, whatever you like. Especially for junior high school students, they are actually like elementary school students, but they think they are adults. So sometimes this is a way to communicate with them in the beginning of the class. So this is some time for them to check in to prepare for the lesson. Okay, so that will be the starting of the lesson. And also, if you have some rules and regulation, you have to reinforce. I will talk about that. Okay. And the last part, we have talked about this a lot. During break or lunchtime, you can talk with them and talk about their hobbies. When you see the student is growing, you can say, oh, what's that? It's so cute, something like that. But I think you guys have mastered it, so we don't need to talk about it. And we will talk about acknowledgement and praise. You have to engage, and whenever you meet them, you can have a short talk with them, and like what you say, that will help them to engage more in classes. Okay, so you don't need to worry about that. Okay, and also if you have the student who are naughty, you don't need to be very kind to them. You set rules. So you sometimes pause and monitor to the students and talk to them and ask them to behave well. You don't need to worry about they wouldn't cooperate or something. Okay. And there are some scenario I just show you, so we are not going to discuss, we just continue. So we'll start from the first one. I think you have read most of them. And if you haven't read all of them, you can just read through it. So the first one is a problem with a teacher, Miss A, and she found that her students' behavior varies from day to day. And I would like you to think about why. Sometimes students, they behave well, but sometimes they just like misbehave, or they don't want to listen to you. So what are the possible reasons leading to her students' behavioral inconsistency, and what action plan can be taken? I would like to ask the groups who talk about scenario 1 to share your opinion. Did you talk about this? Oh yeah, I see this. Okay. The students may need more structure and routine in way that the class is run. The class before may be affecting their behavior, as I mentioned, like after PE class, right? And ability to calm down. So the teacher may consider employing movement breaks as a reward for sitting through longer periods of class. Oh, so what is movement breaks? Is it possible for you to talk about it?
So for my classes, especially
Right.
the younger kids, like first, second grade, third grade, it would be harder for them to like sit through a period of class and like be engaged. So I would let them do like a little like Mario run video, or sometimes we did like a little short portion of a yoga video, like 1 to 2 minutes, just like movement. And then I would say, okay, like time to sit down. And then they could like focus better because they had that like movement break, and it was like a reward for like, getting through that section of the class well, or like listening. Or sometimes maybe they were just like really tired kind of, and they need something like energizing to get them like focused. So I would like give them an energizing activity to do, and then like they would have more energy than before to like go on to like whatever activity they needed. Like it was like a good transition activity. Yeah.
It's very cute. Okay, and Tyler, right? Tyler.
I said we talked about scenario 2, and I can talk about that one.
Yeah, you can share this one. So
Okay. So scenario 2 was the next one, talking about Mr. B creating classroom rules aimed at preventing behaviors. Yeah, that one. Talking about don't be late, don't be rude, all those. So we talked about when the students behave unexpectedly and don't respect the rules, it was because they're painted in a very negative way. And I think one of the things we were talking about was if we want to make rules for students in a classroom, we want to frame them in a much more positive way. So it'll help them respect the lessons or respect them the rules a lot more. So changing it to, instead of don't be late, be like be on time, or don't be like be respectful. Things like that.
Yeah, I noticed that, right?
Yeah. And then the last thing I also brought up was when you create rules with students at the beginning of the year, something important might be to help the students, like, or have the students help you make the rules as well. Like invite them to come up with ideas of how you can make rules, so they have an opportunity to do it with you. It's a good idea. So.
Yeah. So do you really discuss with your students?
I'll like at the beginning of the year, I ask students, what are some good rules, or what are some good things that we can do as a class. Last year I had first graders, so it's really not much that I could add,
First
but
grader.
I tried to with my first graders, just as
In
much
English?
as I could. Yeah, in English.
So
some
they
of
can
them,
understand it.
yeah, some of them were more willing to than others, but I think they still understood it pretty well.
Can you demonstrate what language did you use to communicate with them? For example.
Like I think I said what did I say? A while ago. And I'm at a different school now. So but I think I said just like, all right, well, as a class, there are some rules that we need to go no to understand and follow, so we can have a good class. What are some things that we can, or do you have ideas? What are some things that we can do in the class? And when no one would raise their hand, I would just say, how about the word respect, or like, and I would say these words.
Respect.
And if the students didn't understand it, then I would either try to translate myself or point to one of the LETs to help. So yeah.
So translate some of the keywords.
Yeah, exactly. Just not all of the words.
But the student will guess, like, respect. What is respect?
Yeah.
Something like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's very good. And it's for first grader. I think you must did a good job for them to, it's hard to attract their attention, especially when you speak English. And how can they understand your language? And that there must be skills and techniques how you interact with them that will make them focus. I think that is the most important, most difficult part, right?
Yeah, it can be difficult, but I think learning your classroom and working with the students along the year and finding out what helps and doesn't help them is really key.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, that's a good job. You did a good job. And I would like to say that from my observation of some of the other classes, okay, some of the Taiwanese teachers, they believe that if they cannot understand what you're talking about, they are not listening. But I think it's wrong. Like what you say, when you use English and you talk to them and they try to figure it out, and if they don't really understand, that will be the last resort to translate. I think it's very important, and that's the way you guys can communicate with students. And I think that's a good feedback and sharing. And as you mentioned, it's very important, don't use negative words. So exactly. Don't be late. That is not a good word. Like be on time, something like that. We use simple words in this case. Okay, very good. So you talk about the second one. So are there anybody can are going to share the first one and the second one? I think we can talk about them together. I need one more person, first or second. No.
Hi.
Oh, Miranda. Okay.
We
Thank
talked
you.
about the first one in my group,
Okay, first one.
and we talked about how like maybe incorporating like a consequence and reward system. So we talked about like Class Dojo, using Class Dojo as like a reward system to try to keep everyone's behavior more consistent. If you want something that's like offline, I do team points in like my fourth and second grade classes, and then sixth grade I do like marks and stars. So like it's whole class based for sixth grade because they don't really care about the teams at that age. They're like, we don't care what team wins. We'd rather talk to our friends. So and then that's based like competition between class. So my best sixth grade class will get a reward of some kind.
But sometimes they fight because of competition through groups, right?
I
Not fight,
think
they argue. They say, "Oh, why?" Something like that. So how did you
I
solve this?
I think fourth grade are used the most and only certain classes. But my best response to that is like, well, I'm the teacher, so I get to decide.
Yeah, good job. Yeah, you have a very good attitude. That's right. Yeah, you have to say I'm the teacher. Yeah, that's the point. And sometimes we encourage good behavior, not only like you answer it right, I give you 1 point, but if you behave well, I can also give you points. That's because
Yeah.
of your behavior, not only not just because of your performance, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
job.
so if we have kids like come in and they're quiet, because sometimes the kids will come in and they'll sit down and they just immediately start talking. If we have groups that come in and like have their stuff out and get ready per class, we give them a point. Or if we're doing a writing activity or doing workbook and we have a group that's like helping each other, like do the problems and things, we'll give them a point. And we also have a system when we play games, like we have a spinner that it goes along with the points, and there's like a bomb. And if you get the bomb, then everyone goes back down to 0.
Oh, is that her?
Yeah, they really like that. So
Oh yeah. Okay, it's just like for unfortunately. Yeah. Okay. But there is a point that is called consistency in your rules, right? Yeah. So that is basically what we would like to discuss in the first scenario. Okay. So what's the problem with her? I think the problem, let's take a look of the follow up. The most important thing is she doesn't she when she like giving instruction to her students, she was not consistent. That is very important. So, oh, I think you can take a look of the notes here and we can take a break. It's 2:08. So is it possible for us to come back at 2:15? We can take a break for 7 minutes, okay? Okay, you can take a short break and take a look of it and we will continue to discuss the classroom management. Okay, take a short break. Okay. Hey guys. Yeah, it's good. I see some of you leave the comments, and I found this is a good comment, and that is exactly what I would like to talk about. Is it possible for Maeve? Maeve? Am I right?
Hello.
Yeah, am I right?
Yes.
Okay,
Me.
so what is you meant this is very good, and what does that mean? Intern you mentioned that you have to internalize, okay? Internalize. Yeah. So what is
Like
that?
a lot of what Miss A was doing was like very like her reminding them of the students, but like they don't have a strong sense of what that means, what I need to do, how do these rules apply to me, and what should I be doing, and how can I make sure that everyone else is also doing this. So like, you know, just like having that internal sense of this is how this rule applies to me, like personally, and then like not having to be reminded, like it's already like in their back of their head, and it becomes more like automatic, more like an automatic behavior than just something they have to like work on doing every time, because that's like a lot of brain power for a child. Like
Yeah. Jennifer mentioned loopholes, right? They know that there is something that they can because the teacher respond differently, so sometimes they will find ways to do find ways to like do whatever they like. Okay, and you can see from the description here, not the point is that not maintaining high behavior expectations for all her students. So there are examples. For example, she corrected the behavior of students near the front of the room. It happened often. Correct the student near the front, or correct the student, the most naughty students, but not correcting the others. It's not fair, and it's just like inconsistency. So that she has to be consistent, and she figured out the reason why she is not consistent. That's the reason why we need to reflect. So you can take a look at the second paragraph I have highlighted. When she was tired in the afternoon, sometimes near the end of the week, oh, Friday, I'm going to take a break. And when she was busy with other tasks, those are all the reasons why, or that's all the reasons leading to her inconsistency. So you have to think about the reason why and how to solve this problem. So after she found the problems, and she tried to correct her own behavior, she tried to be fair, be consistent, and the students will change. So that is very important. Okay, so you guys have found the mistakes she has made. Okay, so we can take a look at some tips or some points. We can see that to establish and maintain high expectations for behavior, I think it's very important. The high expectations is not for high better performance, but it's about behavior. That is something we have to stick to the rules. So first of all, you have to clearly articulate your own expectations for behavior. So like Tyler have mentioned that, okay, our rule of respect, something like that. That is what I emphasize, and then what I think you guys need to do. Being a person, right? Not being in my classroom, but you have to behave well. That is what you need to do. So that is clearly articulate your expectation. And the second one is actually very important. That is model. You have to model it, not just talk about it. And when we say inconsistency, if you don't make the students do it, and if they don't have the consequences, they will not follow. So model and explicitly teach these expectations. You need to teach, not just talk about it. They have to follow. So when they don't follow the rules, don't follow the regulations, you have to explicitly tell them this is not right. It's very important. So that is teach, to model, to teach. And the next one, address behavior that do not meet the high expectation immediately. Okay, so maybe you can do that after class, but immediately. And sometimes I will talk to the student after class. I will spend like 5 or 10 minutes after class to talk to a student and ask him or her to reflect on themselves. Why I'm angry? I will get angry. I will pretend. I'm very good at pretending being angry. I don't know whether you met such teachers before or not, but for kids, I would like to pretend I'm angry. And after that, I have to talk to them. Otherwise, they don't know why you look angry. And I have to tell them what behavior they had was wrong. So it can be very challenging, especially there is a little bit language barriers between you, but I think they solve the problem. And you cannot ignore or overlooking the misbehavior, even little misbehavior. You need to correct them. It's very important. So that's the reason why we say high expectations for behavior. Okay. And the last one is regularly reflect on your own behavior to ensure you are consistently modeling high expectations. So you have to think about that after the end of the day or every week to think about what are there rooms for you to make improvement or not. So you also need to think about it all the time. Okay. And this is the second scenario, and we talk about why he has set up the rules, but students still don't follow. So we have mentioned that she needs to use positive regulation, and Tyler mentioned that maybe we can discuss the regulation with the kids together. So that would be the rules we build up together, not the rules I set up. Okay, and they can understand that. So it's very important to talk about it. And also 10 actually is a little bit too many rules. So we can reduce the number of the rules and reframe them to a more positive one. So this would be the first one we have to understand. And also we can write it down. So like Tyler mentioned respect, maybe you can write down respect and talk about it. They will see it. And you can make a poster and everybody can write on it. You can do something like we make the decision together like this, okay? So you have to spend some time to teach the rules. For example, you want the student to be respectful. So when they do something unrespectful, you have to start to address and talk about it and say that it is not respectful. So from all the details, you have to spend time to prevent them from not following the rules. So it's very important. You have to model the rules, demonstrating, and just do it. And you have to address their problems. Okay. And also the last paragraph, we mentioned a shared understanding of the classroom rules and expectations for behavior. So one of the ways is to discuss the rules together. But you need to have some backup plan, because sometimes students, they don't have the idea. So you can talk about the idea and they can discuss together. Sometimes they will have better ideas for classroom rules. Okay, so we have to follow it all together, not I force you to do so. So it's also very important to give them the concept of we are being in a classroom together. We have to make improvement together. We are a group. Okay, so the rules you can teach it. So you have to introduce and explain each rule clearly. So like display them and check and further develop where necessary students' understanding of what the rules should and should not look like and sound like through class discussion. So you have to check whether students' understanding is right or not and practice with students. And the next one, monitor all students and reinforce the rule consistently and fairly. I think fair is very important. Okay? You don't treat girls better than boys or treat boys better than girls. They like to say that, but you have to be very fair to everybody. Okay. And the last one is when this is actually the most important thing. We are not going really, we don't really punish students nowadays. Sometimes we don't give them a break. That's the most serious punishment, but we give them acknowledgement and praise them. So that's very important. As we mentioned, they got the points not just because of their performance, but also because of their behavior. So this is acknowledgement they can gain, and they can learn from the positive reinforcement. Okay, so the first two questions are very easy. I would like to talk about the third one. The third one is about Miss K. Okay, it seems like she is a very good teacher, very strict. So we can take a look at the description a little bit. Okay, so to set up routine. So as we mentioned, routine or internalize, we just mentioned this. Actually, this is routine and internalize. We want the students to remember it, do it. Okay, so the routine include how students should enter and leave the classroom. It's very strict, but some of the teachers, they ask students to line up in front of the English classroom before they get into a classroom, and they have to greet the teacher and they have to do something. Okay, so those are the routines. Enter and leave and ask for help and pack up at the end of the lesson. So there are something they have to do. They have to like set up the rules. So these routines set the tone for expected behaviors. I think this point is very important. Why we give them the routines? Because we want you to behave like this. So the tone for expected behaviors are set through the routine you build up for them. So these details are actually for you to read a little bit and think about whether you can do this or not, okay? And during the semester, she finds that her student continue to develop a clear understanding of how to behave in her classroom. You know, some of the strict teachers, they set up rules and they are very strict. Students in the beginning are very afraid of them, but the student will fall in love with the strict teachers because of their consistency and fairness. Yeah, so you don't need to worry about whether students will like you or not since you put effort to them. And it seems that Miss K did a good job. However, so that the first question I would like you to think about, what techniques or skill does Miss K use in the first semester? But I would like to ask you the second question. After summer break, when students come back to school, will students behave as well as previous semester or will not? So what should Ms. K do to reinforce students' behavior? This is the question I would like to ask. So are there volunteers to talk about this? So who talk about scenario 3? No? Rachel? Is Rachel there?
Hi.
Hi. So did you talk about scenario 3?
Sure.
Okay.
I
you are
think
Rachel.
it's I think it's important that she sets aside like specific time to go over the classroom expectations rather than like teaching them through kind of like negative reinforcement, or like if someone doesn't follow them and then kind of teaching them through that. I think it's better to set aside very specific time for each student to see not only themselves doing it, but like their peers. And I think that's also why, like throughout the semester, like she slowly doesn't have to remind the students, they just like already know and they like see other students doing it. It's kind of like a social contract that, you know, like I'm
Social
doing it,
contract.
you're doing it.
Yeah.
And I think like assuming there's continuity between summer vacation and the next semester, like I think the students would probably perform the same way.
Mhm.
But I also think that students grow during the summer, and so maybe some of the expectations that she set
Yeah.
in the previous semester should be adapted for like older students.
Yeah. You got a point. Yeah, it's very important to change because of their grades or because of it's for the 5th grader, the rules will be different from the 4th graders, something like that. Did you have any routines before in your class?
In my school,
Yeah.
yeah, my school, the first and second grade would repeat, or like, yeah, first and second grade, third, fourth, and fifth, sixth. So I think that was nice. And also like the younger kids would know that once they reached the higher grades, like those were the expectations because I saw those students doing it for them.
Yeah, okay. And I don't know, how about in English classes? You personally?
Oh, in the English classroom?
Yeah.
Yeah, we would have a saying that my LAT came up with. She was like, I want your watching. And then the kids would say eyes. And then I want your listening. And they say ears. And I want your quiet. And then they say mouth. And so that was like a way of like getting their attention, but also reminding them how to like remain kind of like respectful and quiet in the classroom.
Yeah, and attention grabber. Yeah. Okay. So it's very important to think about it. And you will see that for the new semester, you don't expect your kids to remember everything. So it's necessary to reteach, okay, and repractice. And as Rachel mentioned, it's very important to set up some time for practicing, and you have to make sure whether they can practice it or not. Okay, so it's very important to do it again. But it will be fast for them, and also you have to adjust a little bit because of the change of their age. So this is something you have to bear in mind. Okay, and we will see that routines, that is the point I would like to talk about here. Routines, why it's important. So that's the reason why I asked, do you have any routines? And some of the teachers, they have the routines of like asking students to turn to a certain page to read some words, and some of the teachers, they have the routines for students to greet to a teacher every time. They have to say hello. They have to say like 1 or 2 sentences before they start their classes. And in English, to greet the teacher, greet everybody, or talk about their emotion, like the check-in I mentioned. Yeah, so they have different rules. And I have observed one of the school that a teacher review phonological awareness in each class. So their routine is like they have to review all the phones, all the onset, all the rhymes each time. So different kinds of routines depending on what kind of classes you want to create and what kind of interaction you want to have with your students. Okay, so these are all the routines. Okay, I don't know. Well, if you have any special routine, you can also share with us. Just write down on the chat. Okay, and I would like to talk about this. So it's very important to introduce the routine. Routine is more like your expectation you set for them. Okay, and briefly, don't be too complicated. So detail your expectation, why we need to do this, and what to do and how to do. So sometimes we will tell students why. This is like Rachel say, you say eyes on me, they say eyes. It's like I'm paying attention to you. So besides being an attention grabber and a routine, it also shows a kind of mutual respect in classes. So this is what we want to teach the students. Okay, and also modeling, again, describe the routine your students by demonstrating the expected behavior. So what we want them to do, what we want them to behave is that is more like the objective we set, and what we are doing is to meet the objective. So you have to think about that. Okay, and you have to give them some chances to practice. Okay, and you need to practice the routine until everyone can do it. So if someone cannot do it, we have to practice it again and again, and acknowledging students who are getting it and supporting those who are not. So you still need to help those who are not, or ask the students to help them. Okay, so this is the third scenario. Then there comes the last scenario. Okay, okay, so the last scenario is Mr. Q. Okay, Mr. Q makes a special effort at the beginning of the school year to learn his students' names as quickly as possible. I don't know whether you can remember students' name or not, but for me, it's a little bit hard. I don't know why, either Chinese or English, but I try to like give them little nickname to create a the little cute nickname to like when that is the only way I call him or her. Yeah. Okay. And he creates a sitting plan and individual name cards. So we have individual name cards on the sit on each student's desk for the first week of them. Okay. So he did something to build up connection with kids with, oh, this is Mr. Q. Okay, there is a typo. Okay, so despite the positive connection Mr. Q builds with most of his students, there are still two individuals there are still two individuals who have consistently disrupted the class since the beginning of the school year. So what else can he do to solve the problem? So I would like to ask you, how about the two individuals? What can he do? Okay. I think this is a very easy question. I would just like to pick up. How about Sam? Sam is not here. Trista? Oh, Sam. Oh, okay. So you can just type it, okay? Trista.
Hi. Yeah,
Hi.
I think that something else this teacher can try is maybe talking to the homeroom teacher or the family about these particular students' needs and how it can better motivate them in class.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So did you have experiences?
And maybe,
sorry. You can just
I
continue.
was going to say maybe could also consider adjusting the consequences that they're using, maybe are not. The students aren't really responding to those ones, so try something different.
Mm-hmm. How about your experience before? Did you have misbehavior students or they all behave well?
I've definitely had students misbehave. I think everyone has, right?
Really?
One thing I talked about with my group that I hope we can talk about more here today is that our involvement in classroom management really depends a lot on the LET we're working with.
That's the point.
How involved we can be, and if they're interested in our philosophy or if they have a really different philosophy. And it can be really frustrating when we learn a lot of great techniques and ideas in these workshops, and then it's impossible in our reality to apply them to class.
So what did you do? Or you can not do anything? Or some of the in some of the LET's class? You can be very honest. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Some of my LETs, I would try talking to them outside of class about different management techniques. And, you know, some of them responded well to that, but others.
Yeah, it's very hard to change them actually. Yeah, so it can be very frustrating. You know, I had an ETA before. She has an LET who does not speak English, teaching English classes. Yeah, that's so special. Yeah, but that has something to do with some of the remote schools. So there are situations that we cannot change, and the only thing I can tell her is that you learn something from some of the good. I think most of the LET, they are very good, and you can learn something from them. But there are some special cases. In that cases, you have to think about that. For the students, you are so important for them because they can learn nothing from the LET. So you have to be a little bit more independent in this case. Yeah. So I would suggest, in this case, I would suggest that maybe you teach like 20 minutes and your LET teach 20 minutes, like alternative teaching, then you can control your part. Yeah, for spatial scenario, spatial cases. Yeah. Okay. I think I will give you guys some times at the end of this presentation, and you can also stay here and ask me if you have further problems for classroom management or some of the cases. Yeah, okay. Thank you for sharing. Don't worry, you can be very honest to me. Yeah, I'm not going to grade you or say something about you. Yeah, okay, thank you. And we see Sam say that people respond more to carrots and some to sticks. And it sounds like those two kids are responding to carrots and so need some discipline and boundaries. Okay, so how to do that? Sticks. But we cannot use sticks in Taiwan. We cannot really punish the kids, right? So yeah, I like you say discipline and boundaries. Yeah, that is one of the ways. And for, as we mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, like we say that the kids who behave well, sorry, who misbehave, not behave well, the kids who misbehave, sometimes they have some problems. And it's hard for you to change them, but sometimes we can spend some time to understand them. And some of them need to be punished. But how to punish them? It's hard. We don't have the tools. Actually, I would say we don't have the tools. We don't have the power. We cannot punish others. That is not right. But how to use sticks? So since you mentioned stick, I'm curious about this. So is it possible for Sam to say more? You can just type it like some discipline and boundaries. So what would you do in this case specifically? Okay, Sam, is it possible for you to?
Yeah, my
Oh,
Wi-Fi is better
you're
now.
here.
I was just in an elevator.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
I think it depends on the specific behavioral issues that you're having with the kids. So, I mean, if it's that they're not paying attention and not talking in class, or sorry, and talking in class, sometimes that means talking with your LET about lowering their English grade. Like if they're just not completing the assignments or what they're being asked to do, then some kids will respond to a grade change. I think other kids really just need to be sat down and told like you can't do this, like one-on-one they need to be talked to. So it might mean that, but I think it really depends on the specifics of what the behavior is.
Yeah, so at least most of the kids are good, right?
Yeah, you know, thank God for small blessings, right?
Okay, so yeah, we are not going to solve individual problems during class because we don't spend time on one or two of the students. But luckily, if you know you're co-teaching, so there are two teachers, so you can use some of the methods of co-teaching to solve such problems sometimes. Yeah, and you can discuss with your LET whether he or she wants to try some other ways to teach, and the students sometimes will change when the form of teaching is changed. That is something I think, you know, some of the students, they don't want to be taught, but when it comes to like team learning or they can learn from each other. There are some, do you guys know station learning? So there might be some of the station, there is no teacher and they surprisingly behave well sometimes. Yeah, they want to lead the classmates, they can discuss together, then they are not that misbehave. Okay, but you can change the form of teaching, and also you can just like be more strict and setting up boundaries and be more like you can pause and just look at them. Sometimes they will be a little bit afraid of teachers stare. Okay, and also there are some other ways, and for in this case, let's take a look. Okay, so in this case, Mr. D, he did something. Oh, his name is changed. Okay, so he did something that we have mentioned before, that is the one-on-one conversations. Okay, and I personally think one-on-one conversation is very important for those kids because they know that they are being paid attention to. So some of them won't do, some of them will be a little bit like constrained, or they know you are paying attention to them, and don't just call them to a certain place like in the office and talk to them. It's like yelling at them. If you want to know more about them, maybe on the playground or sometimes on the hallway, you can just talk to them. Okay, talk to each student in a more relaxed way. That is his way to solve the problem. And he wants to know what happened to the kids and how they can work together. So sometimes you can discuss with them how we can work together to overcome these difficulties. Because if you don't behave well in my class, that will influence other kids. Oh, sorry. Thank you. I thought it is shared. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I have two monitors. Okay. So it's important to discuss with them. Sometimes they will accept and they will like, okay, in this class, I will try not to disrupt. Okay. So this is one of the ways you can do. Okay. Okay. So we need to build up positive relationships, but we still need to be very strict. So it's very difficult. The most important of all, you have to model expectations. So your expectations is always set for students to follow. That's very important. Okay. And you have, okay. So, but normally we are neutral. We don't really yell at them. But when they like break the rules, you have to talk to them calmly. It's very important. And when students did it well, you have to praise them and understand and meet students' learning needs and be aware of how your values, belief, and knowledge. Okay, be aware of how your values, beliefs, and knowledge about learning and students' behavior impact how you engage with your students. And yeah, some of the teachers would say that, oh, the kids doesn't behave well, we just ignore them, but that is not the best way to solve the problems. Okay, and sometimes we have bias. If we have bias towards students, that will ruin the relationship. So you have to demonstrate. I think the last one is the most important thing. Demonstrate that you are trustworthy, consistent, and reliable. Once students think that you are trustworthy, consistent, and reliable, they will follow the rules. They will follow you. That's very important. Okay. So that is the way we can build positive relationship with students. Okay. And the next one. So there are some ways. For example, you can get close to them, like lying in the front, or there are some gestures students can feel that, like crossing your arms, or you have a certain kind of facial expression. They will read it. They can read your emotion. So sometimes you can pretend to be unhappy and then talk about it, but not really yell at them. But when you talk about it, you should be very calm. But when you want to like give them some, let them feel a little threatened, you can just lie. You can just get close to them and talk to them like this. So different kind of gesture will make them feel you differently. So think about what will make them feel you. It's very important. So like deliberately pausing. I cannot accept any student talking in my class. So if there is one or two of the kids, they are talking like this, very quietly, whispering, I would pause, even though the sound is very little. Because if I can accept they talk like this, there will be another group of students they talk. So deliberate pausing is one of the most important strategies to give the students like the warning cards. Say, oh, you have to stop, something like that. And also the look is also very important. Like what I say, teachers stare. When you see them like this or smile, that will tell different story, and they will be very afraid of that. Okay, and the last one is gesture. So what kind of gesture you can use to communicate the expected behavior? For example, putting your finger on your lips or pretend to write. So you can do something. You don't talk. When you don't talk, they will start to be quiet and they will see your gesture. Like they know you're unhappy, they know they break the rule, they know something when you stop and do something else. So you don't need to rush to like yelling at them and say, stop, be quiet. that really doesn't work. Okay, so you have to come up with different ways and gestures and non-verbal correction for them. Okay, why the word like this? Okay, and okay, so for the disruptive behavior, you have to be fair and consistent. We have mentioned. Okay, so this is what we have mentioned today, and I think this is a chart and organization for how to manage a class. We are not going to talk about, we didn't talk about the scoring board or attention grabbers. They are all details and something you have to bear in mind that you are a teacher and you have some principle, philosophy, and you have objective for classroom management. Okay, so there are some skills we have mentioned, like clear communication or deliberate pause, nonverbal correction, scanning, voice control. Yeah, sometimes we change our voice to attract their attention. Okay, so these are what we can do, the skills, and the practices are also very important. As I mentioned, we have to set high expectations for students' behavior. So the high expectation is like something they can do. We model it and they have to follow it. And also routines. Routines are what we mentioned, like entrance routine, exit routine. It is not necessary. You don't need to do everything, but there must be routines that can help you to guide the student to meet your expectation. That is what we want. And we have to know how to gain their attention when like it's a little bit noisy, or when doing activities, sometimes it's hard to call on all the students. So there are some ways you can do, or moving to the areas of school. Okay, and the relationships is the most important thing. We have talked about this a lot, so I'm not going to emphasize on it. And the last one, I think, is very important, responding to the students who don't behave well, not responding when they have when they are misbehaving. You can you can stop their behavior immediately. You can prevent to be angry, but after that, you need to talk. You need to tell them why this is wrong. So that's teaching. That's what a teacher do. It has nothing to do with English. It has everything to do with why you are teaching and how to be a teacher. I think those are the principles I would like you to bear in mind. Okay, so I think that's all for today's presentation for classroom management. And thank you guys for participating and providing your experience. And there are still time, and I think I would like to leave some time for you to have QA. And do you guys have questions for like classroom management or how to communicate with your LET? Any kind of question, you can stay. And if you don't have further question, you can just leave. Okay, so you can choose. If you have further question you want to know, you want to discuss, you can stay here and discuss with me. And if you don't, you can take a break. Thank you guys. Okay. Bye-bye.
If there are no questions, just like say thank you, Miss Athena.
Thank you.
And yeah.
No
Yep.
question.
No, it seems that way. Anyone that is left, tomorrow, it will be 2 different speakers.
Yeah.
And yeah, that will be it. So see everyone tomorrow. If you have any questions, please remain in the room. The recording will continue until everyone has left.
Oh, okay. So if you have further questions, you can ask me. But it seems that everybody can handle the kids pretty well. Thank you. Thank you,
Yep,
guys.
there we go.
Mhm,
That was it. All right. That was great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
mhm. So we need to wait for 6 more minutes, right?
Oh, 6 more? Oh,
It's
could
too
do.
early.
Yeah. You had mentioned that it was a presentation was on Canva, right?
Sorry?
The formatting. You mentioned that, oh, sorry. You mentioned that the presentation formatting was on Canva before?
Yeah.
All right.
So do you want me to send you the PowerPoints?
Yeah, if possible, please.
Yeah, so you have to give me your email address.
You might be able to send it through. Oh, yeah.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, I can send here. So I can
Yeah,
send
I
here.
was just thinking in the direct.
Okay.
No, the graphics were beautiful.
Management.